What's going on, everybody? Doug here, one of the host, producers, and creators of the John Review Life podcast, here with another long overdue review roundup episode. I believe might be the first of the summer review roundup episode for you all this week. Please forgive me. I told you guys that I'll be much better at these coming forward. I've been bad on my word, I'll be honest. I've just been busy with work stuff and personal, it's celebration season for friends and family for graduations and events going on. So please forgive me. Again, I promised going forward. What is today? It is on May 18th. Going forward, I'm going to be much better with the summer for these bonus review roundup episodes. I'm trying to do more of these, as well as do more, newsletters, probably kind of just like audio newsletters, stuff like that, and visual ones too. We're kind of just working on getting out more content for you all this summer. We have a lot to cover, so I know it's gonna be kind of a crazy summer movie season for all of us. But again, I promise now, even more than before, for real this time, I will be much better with these bonus episodes. Again, hope you're having a great start to your summer so far. We really have a packed next couple of weeks from movies. I'm thinking about it. We already saw Mission Impossible. Well, Nick and myself have it on IMAX. Thanks to our friends at Cult Classics AZ for getting us on the list for that movie. We had a great time with that, and our reactions now live on our YouTube page, of course. Of course, our TikTok and Instagram, stuff like that. And then I believe Moses will probably see it on Thursday before we record a full non-spoiler episode of the podcast this week. So look out for that. And then we have some pretty cool that we're working on right now behind the scenes. We can't tell you what it is yet, unfortunately. A little tease, kind of radio tease, as they say. So look out for that. It's pretty cool. I'm hyped for that one. But of course, when we're kicking it off full season with Ballerina and How to Train Your Dragon, stuff like that. Lilo and Stitch is next week. We've got a ton of stuff. Some of our friends saw the new A24 movie, Bring Her Back. That we missed out, unfortunately, because we scheduling, of course. But also I was out of town, so catch up on that when that comes out in a few weeks. But yeah, guys, we have a lot to catch up on, a lot to kind of cover this summer. So hope you have your notifications ready for us, because we have a lot of cool content coming your way. If you saw our YouTube page, if you saw our Instagram and TikTok, we're gonna do a lot more kind of like pre-screening, like kind of vlog stuff like that. We had a good time doing that, and shout out to our friend Isaac for being in our video too. It was really fun. So yeah, if you see us at a screening, if you're in the AZ area, come talk to us. We'll have, if you want to be in our video, we'll love to have you on our video. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, come say hi to us. And again, we're definitely gonna have a lot more cool stuff to promote and stuff to kind of work on, to work with this summer. So again, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, have your social notifications ready, and of course have your podcast YouTube notifications ready too. We have a lot more cool episodes on the way. Of course, you can find this show on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, and of course, you see our beautiful faces now on our YouTube page with the YouTube video element of the show, youtube.com/Midway Avenue Productions. And like I said, guys, our big goal this summer really is, other than me doing more, or staying true to my word, doing more bonus episodes, is definitely helping to get us to 1,000 subs on YouTube. That'll be huge for us, because again, it's more coverage for us, but it's also more kind of not leverage, but just, and it's huge. I think the 1,000 on the milestone, 1,000 kind of the first big milestone for YouTube, and we're at 727, I want to say right now. So we are hoping to get to 1,000 this summer, or by the end of the summer. And of course, gonna be annoying old Doug again. Our still main goal really is also get to 200 Apple Podcast ratings. Reviews are great too, but ratings definitely will help us out a lot. Like I said, Apple Podcasts seem to be like kind of the heart and soul of like film critique podcasting. So if we can get up that to 200 ratings on Apple Podcasts, that's kind of been our really goal for the past couple years. I'll be honest with you. I think the past 2 years, you probably heard me on the show talk about how important that is. But again, so YouTube subs 1,000, of course, our Apple Podcast ratings at 200. And seriously, thank you all so much for the support. We see your comments, we see your reviews, we see your comments either on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. It means the world to us, really. All press is good press. We'll take it. Even the not so nice comments, we'll still take it. You're watching our videos and content, so that means a lot to us. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for the support. And again, we're really hyped to be kind of growing this community and this channel and this podcast with you. And I speak for myself, Moses, and Nick, that we have a lot of cool things on the horizon we want to do with this channel and this Midway Avenue as the brand. So yeah, on to better things. Again, summer's getting started, guys, so we have a lot more to kind of cover for you all. So yeah, look out for that. But enough of my rambling. On this week's episode, bonus review episode, I have my reviews of The Amateur and The Warfare. Two, again, I always say this, I know I do, two very different movies that I've been behind on to review for you all. Two movies that I'm actually kind of surprised. I think last time I had a review episode for you all of two films I actually like both, which is kind of like rare nowadays. But let's get into that, shall we? So it's kind of funny seeing, like, I always feel like either the end of spring movies seems to be more of like a sleeper hit sometimes. And I think both these films were getting good word of mouth for the most part, but kind of just like weren't doing it like at the box office, unfortunately. But again, let's get into this, shall we? And I'm going to start with the movie I saw first, which was The Amateur. Amateur, I think it's based off a book, and I was hearing decent things about it, and I think I was going to see it I think I almost went to go see, what did I see first? I might have seen Minecraft. I think this movie came out the week after Minecraft, and Moses told me all about Minecraft, and I was like, I don't want to see that. But again, us having the Regal Limited Pass, I think I saw Minecraft that Friday, and then I went to go see this on that Sunday when it came out. I wanted to see Warfare, but again, with I think certain war movies, certain like heavy, serious movies, I had to be in the mood for those kind of movies. So I think I saw this first, which I did. So I think I did Minecraft that Friday, Amateur that Sunday, and the week or two after I saw Warfare. But again, of my rambling, The Amateur follows Charlie Heller as a brilliant CIA decoder whose world comes crashing down when his wife dies in a London terrorist attack. When his supervisors refuse to take action, his intelligence becomes the ultimate weapon as he embarks on a dangerous trek across the globe to track down those responsible. And again, you might be thinking, like, it's kind of those like espionage, kind of like, like CIA kind of revenge stories. To a degree, yes, I'll give you that. And as someone who loves like revenge stories, like in John Wick, the high action stakes, kind of like the Jason Bourne kind of going rogue, or even Mission Impossible in a way, this is not that at all. It's not a really kind of like high action intense movie. It's not, and I actually appreciate that. Again, as someone who does love the kind of like the just like massive, in your face, hand to hand combat, gun fu as they call it for John Wick. I was really impressed with this this is more of a slow burn, more calculated, more skillful type of CIA thriller, and I would say it's very reminiscent of the Jack Ryan series, both the films and shows. More so the show with John Krasinski, which I do enjoy a lot. Because again, there's action in that for sure too. But for the most part, he's an analyst. He's kind of like he's thinking thinking with more strategy, like strategic based, kind of just like operations based. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I think it's good. I think it's a good refresher. I think when we have amazing franchises like Jason Bourne and Mission Impossible and John Wick, it's like, how about like the not so action packed guys, kind of like like the more tech, not the tech IT, but more kind of just like the planners, or the more kind of just like the the operatives. And I kind of enjoy films like that because I get to see kind of like both sides of kind of the spectrum of, okay, there's this, and I. Also, being a big fan of Rami Malek, I was very intrigued by this. And again, I'm not gonna call it a breath of fresh air, but to me, I was like, oh, wait, this is cool. It's again, it to me is like, it's always finding a little bit of a palate cleanser of kind of like the crazy back-to-back action movies. And I'm trying to think, even think The Accountant 2, both Accountant movies I love a lot, but I was like, okay, they're definitely action packed. But this is more thinking of like calculated, and I wouldn't say similar to like a movie like The Killer. The Killer has a lot of action to it. David Fincher's movie for Netflix with Michael Fassbender, a movie that I love. He's more like hand-to-hand combat, stuff like this. And Rami Malek is more, again, it's the tech. It's the more of like the planning, using your resources to your disposal of like, how do I get this done, but in my own way, and not like, hey, I'm gonna be the badass, gonna train, whatever. And the movie itself kind of showcases that, like, yeah, he tries to train with weapons operative, weapons specialist, whatever. And he's not cut out for that. And I feel a lot of action movies kind of be like, yeah, like he was trained overnight, now he's a badass, or he or she's a badass. And it's like, well, okay. And this movie kind of not pokes fun, but kind of like shows the light of like, yeah, a lot of those action movies kind of have like really quick montage, or like they're skilled right away. And it's like, well, what if those people, that operative, whether he or she just didn't it wasn't for them. It just wasn't for them. They couldn't like keep up. And I think this movie kind of shows that pretty, it's like pretty interesting route of that. And I like that actually. I was like, okay, this is cool. Like I said, it is more of a slower burn, and I do think the first half. I think the first half is a bit stronger. I'll be honest with you. Second half, it's still good, but I was definitely more intrigued of more of the build up and setup of like who this person was, who Charlie was, who his wife was, and kind of like his relationship come with like the CIA and his background and what he does. And the second half gets a little, not really muddled, but gets a little too like the action thriller kind of espionage kind of like tropes of genres. But again, I still found it like pretty consistent for the most part. But like I said, first half definitely a bit stronger. And I did like that. Again, I see this a lot now in reviews and reactions. I really appreciate movies like this, studio films especially, shoot on location. And I feel like having the access to all these green screens, the volumes, the blue screens, you name it, or the sets were kind of just like, it's very more accessible, and I get it. But for I would say probably lower to mid-tier budget movie for 20th Century Studios, which is now owned by, it used to be Fox, now it's Disney. I was like, wow, you guys are actually shooting on location and real sets, and going here and here, worldwide stuff. And it's like, wow, like I feel like a lot of these films also go to Netflix and Hulu now so easily. It's like, okay, but this reminds me of movies I kind of grew up to watching in the theaters with my parents, my family. Like, oh yeah, this was like fun, kind of like a worldwide, kind of global, kind of like not travel movie, but you see sets of all across the world, and I'm like, oh wow. And like I said, it was refreshing because I can't tell you the last time I saw a movie of this budget, this caliber, where like they used real sets and they built real sets on actual locations. It wasn't like, yeah, we're going to be in this place, but actually, somewhere in Atlanta. Like, no, they actually went to overseas to these places. And I'm like, okay, thank goodness, because again, it makes it feel more real. And as you believe it more when you have real sets, these actors and these characters in real locations. You feel the stakes more. And I was like, hey, thank goodness. And again, like I said, 20th Century Studios, props to you guys for not putting on Hulu or Prime, whatever this could have been one of those movies, but it didn't. And I'm like, good for you guys. And I really do hope that, I think we've seen a bit of it this summer or this year so far, of like the return of kind of lower to mid-tier budget movies. And I really do hope that we still have these for the theaters, even though stuff like, Novocaine and Black Bag flopped. It is scary. I mean, it even seems Soderbergh said it's kind of scary that these movies aren't doing well anymore. But I think the problem also is that you got to promote these movies a lot better too. You can't be like, oh, it is what it is. And I have my thoughts about Disney and 20th Century Studios. I still haven't seen the success or the not the win, but I haven't seen the benefit of it all yet. I had a problem with not a problem. I had a little bit of concern when they bought Fox years ago, and I said, there goes a lot of like good filmmaking to either try to streaming services or whatever, and that's become the truth, unfortunately. I feel like this and a movie called The Creator, a movie that I absolutely love, just they didn't really believe in the marketing. I don't think the studio believed in the movie, and they didn't market it well. And you can talk to me and Moses about The Creator. We love that movie so much, and I think we covered this on the podcast as well about a year or two ago, where is that I think Disney and certain movies pick and choose what they believe in terms of marketing. I could be wrong. I could feel wrong about that. I'm not trying to accuse anybody or kind of like point fingers or whatever, but I do tend to think that there's certain movies that certain studios, I do think maybe Disney itself, like, okay, we have the Fox banner, now it's called 20th Century Studios, but it's like, you should believe in all your movies. I don't care what the genre is, you should believe in it. If it's a bad movie, okay, it's one thing, but again, if the movie's somewhat decent like how Amateur was, or how The Creator was, I didn't feel like you really believed the movie itself. You kind of put it to the side. Yeah, for sure, we'll do that. And you just didn't believe in it. And I kind of had an issue with that. And I think back to like even in 2018 when they bought Fox, they didn't really believe in Widows or my beloved, or my mom and I, our beloved Bad Times at El Royale. And that to me kind of just showed up like, wow, you guys kind of picked and choose what y'all believed in. They definitely believed in Bohemian Rhapsody, and then they kind of believed in Predator, but Predator just ate shit, unfortunately, and just flop in the box office. So I don't know. To me, it's like I noticed this a lot with the 20th Century Studios brand now, where I'm not seeing a lot of their movies for the big screen anymore. It's going to Hulu really easily, or it's like a movie every year or so. It's like, you have this brand, like you might as well use it. You bought it for a reason. And that's why I think Amazon MGM is kind of stepping up a lot right now, where they're really kind of like committing to the theatrical release, and they're going to do 15 or 20 movies a year. They announced like CinemaCon, and I'm like, good. And then I was talking to someone about it too, and I was like, yeah, this is like they're filling the gap that Fox once had years ago. Those kind of these movies made for the big screen, and I was like, yeah, good for Amazon MGM. But again, I do know that Disney wants to invest 20th Studios more of like Predator and Prey and Alien, and I get that those are your IPs. But I do think you should show more love to these lower budget movies like The Amateur and the Creator. Creator was like 80 mil, but still these not IP, like made for more quote unquote adults movies, more mature, I would say, movies. I feel like they kind of just don't believe in these, and it's kind of unfair to the filmmakers, to the people who work on this movie, whether it's craft services, production assistants, crew, you name it. And I really do hope that we see a change in the direction in terms of kind of like how they promote their movies going forward. I think they've not done a good job the past couple of years, and I'll be the first one to criticize them no matter what. And I think during COVID a lot that definitely kind of hurt it, but also recently it's like they probably 20th Studio movies on Hulu like that. It's like, no guys, you have this brand for a reason. Promote these movies. You have them. This is your brand. So that's my little rant. Sorry, my little side rant and ramble, but I don't know. So to me, it was definitely cool to see a movie like this. Like I said, on the big screen with relocation, real sets, and I know it was refreshing. Again, I think I've seen a lot of movies this year that I'm trying to promote, and I'm trying to kind of advocate for, like, hey, go see this movie because it's real locations, real sets, whatever. And to me also, as is my theater reaction, the movie itself is almost like a very not safer, but like there's a touch of Death Wish, the original one, with what's his name? It's 1973, 74. Not the Bruce Willis one, which I kind of like. I'm not gonna like, kind of guilty pleasure. Who's Charles Bronson? That's what it was, the original one. This movie definitely had a bit of a Death Wish touch to it, but not as like hyper violent or like in your face, like oh whoa, like kind of shocking. But I was like, okay, I kind of like that because again, it kind of goes back to like the person who's not trained. It's more of kind of just like this person kind of taking terms into taking their this to their own terms in their own ways. But with that said, though, the disappointing part of this movie, I think, came from me, is that I don't think they utilized their supporting cast well. I don't think they utilized John Bernthal well, Lawrence Fishburne well, and you got a really great cast here. Even Rachel Brosnahan, who's going to be Lois Lane in Superman this summer. I kind of felt like they just didn't really. You have great talent with Lawrence Fishburne. You have great talent with John Bernthal and Rachel Brosnahan, but they kind of fell to the wayside where I was like, oh man, you have a great talent, kind of just feel wasted, especially with John Bernthal and Lawrence Fishburne. John Bernthal, like, kind of like he was filming this in between Account 2, maybe Daredevil, and he's not only a spoiler, but he's not only in it as much. But I was like, oh wow, they put him in the marketing a lot. I was like, you would think. But he's not, and I was like, oh, it would be cool to see his kind of relationship with Rami Malek's character Charlie a bit more, because I'm like, oh, because John Bernthal more kind of like the John Wick, the more kind of like the Jason Bourne kind of guy for the CIA, where Rami Malek is the complete opposite, and they kind of like have this kind of like weird relationship, kind of like bully and nerd kind of thing from high school, and I'm like, but not to an extreme, but I was like, oh, then they're on screen together, they have good chemistry, but they never utilized that, and I was like, damn, it's kind of a waste of a talent. And Lawrence Fishburne, who again, I think he definitely has some like scenes where I'm like, ooh, like there's scenes where like he's either trying to train Rami Malek or kind of like, getting orders from his higher ups, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, I'm with that. But they never, it kind of like he's kind of just like sleepwalking this a little bit, where he was kind of just like, I feel kind of bored. It was like he probably could have had more to do with probably maybe a better script, but he seemed kind of just like, all right, I'm Lawrence Fishburne, I have this charisma, and I have this range. And they don't really feel like they use his talents to his full capacity. And I was like, oh, it's a bummer. So I will say that. And I think even at the end with like the villain, quote unquote, like I was like, okay, that's cool and all, but like I don't really feel fulfilled. That's why I said the first half is definitely better than the second half of this movie. But I still liked what they were doing with this and how like things kind of like came together at the end. And I think it's like 2 hours, I want to say, give or take. And I think the pacing kind of like you definitely consider the pacing a little bit. I think it's like 2 hours and about 2 hours 3 minutes, yeah. And the pacing I think is good for the most part. Like I said, at the end though, you kind of feel like all right, whatever. But I still had a good time with this movie. I'll be honest with you, I had a good time with it. Again, if you like the espionage, kind of like revenge stories, but then not so much of the John Wick and the Jason Bournes, and more like Jack Ryan as kind of like the like more calculated kind of like revenge plot movies like this. Definitely check it out. I'll give this movie honestly a really solid 7 out of 10. I really like, I think it's worth the price of seeing in theaters. If you can still see it in theaters, I was putting it out for a little while. If you watch it at home, watch it at home too. But I do think if you find it in a theater, still go check it out. I think it was a fun movie, and I still again had a great time with it. So yeah, that's The Amateur, which is again still I think still playing. But I want to definitely see more of those films, both the genre and the scale and budget from more studios for the big screen, especially from 20th Century Studios and Disney. Hey, you have these movies, guys. From the big screens, we'll see them, and I think my audience was like pretty packed for the most part. I'll say it wasn't crowded, but it was like pretty, pretty like solidly packed for the most part. So I was like, kind of reassuring. But yeah, definitely check out The Amateur if you haven't already. Okay, my second movie, like I said, very different movie, of course, is Warfare. Warfare is a movie that I was hearing a lot about, and I mean a lot about, and war movies, I feel like I got more into them during high school. And I think, I think the first real war movie that I remember watching in theaters what I appreciated more was American Sniper with Bradley Cooper, directed by Clint Eastwood, where at the time I didn't really enjoy, but like I didn't appreciate war films, movies based off war, inspired by war, or even the war genre, just in general, both historical, nonfiction, and fiction. So Warfare is a lot about. But my gripe, though, however, before seeing this, was Alex Garland. No offense to Alex Garland, I'll be very honest. Alex Garland, to me, I haven't loved all his projects. I'm actually seeing for the first time 20 days later this week for the first time. They're bringing back the theaters in anticipation of the new one 28 years later. So I'm seeing that for the first time in theaters next week. Thank you, Harkins Theaters, for having that in theaters. But, I liked Ex Machina. I didn't really care for his Dread movie as much. I tried watching it recently, and I was just like, it was fine. I still got to see Men, and I still got to watch Annihilation. I have both those two movies on Blu. No, I have Annihilation on Blu-ray, but I haven't seen Men yet. And I'll be honest with you, I did not like Civil War. I did not like Civil War at all. I had so many issues with that movie, where I walked out just really pissed. And I hate the word piss, I hate the word hate, but I remember walking out of Civil War and I was like, fuck this movie. Excuse my language. I just thought it was so pretentious. I thought it was just so I thought the writing was just terrible. People were praising this movie. I said, "Do we see a different movie?" And again, all of it was subjective, and I totally get that. But I remember walking out and saying, "This movie was just dumb." And I thought people were like, "Oh, it's so smart." And it's like I was like, "Wow, I wish I felt that way." And I felt like a lot of the good scenes were in the trailer. The whole Jesse Plemons thing was very intense. That was in the trailer. I'm like, okay. And Nick Offerman as president, that was kind of just like an SNL skit. I was like, this is whack. And I remember walking out of Civil War just saying this movie was atrocious. I could not stand that movie whatsoever. The script was a complete piece of shit, and I thought just overall this movie was just dog shit. I was like, oh, great. So then I saw Warfare. I was like, Alex Garland, man, not only all my good looks right now, but again, I still gotta watch Men. I still gotta watch Annihilation. But I read more about it, how this movie is co-directed by Ray Mendoza. Ray Mendoza was an actual Navy SEAL, fought for our country. Thank you, sir, for your service. And it was co-directed and co-written by him, and it is based entirely on what he went through. So did his squad went on, and I was just like, wow. And I think it's really brave of him to kind of like tell this story for the big screen. I mean, what he went through, what his men went through, it's horrific. And I was more intrigued than it was like I was hearing more things of how like none of this was bullshit, like none of it was fictionalized, like everything that happened in the movie actually happened. And I was like, wow. you don't see that movie. You see like in biopics, movies based on true stories a lot anymore. So I was kind of like, oh wow, I appreciate that because, you know, I mean, again, I love, I'm a huge fan of the biopic genre for sure. But and you hear like, oh, this wasn't true, that wasn't true, that wasn't true. But I still enjoyed it. But this, I was really impressed. Where I was like, wow, um, how this movie just felt authentic and it felt real. But again, if you don't know Warfare, sorry, and back to the synopsis. Warfare follows a surveillance mission goes wrong for a platoon of American Navy SEALs in an insurgent territory in Iraq. Like I said, going back to it, this movie really is authentic. It's raw. It's intense. I think this might be the most authentic, raw, and intense war movie I've ever seen in my life. And this movie just really transports you into what these men went through right away. And I think the opening kind of shows you the opening is kind of like the only time you can like breathe, because it kind of shows you what these men kind of do before like they go to war, like kind of like they're kind of like this like their like hype song that they play before they go to battle. But you feel the brotherhood between all of them right away, and I was like, okay, I'm into this. And the song they used was very interesting, and they're getting right into like the movie. And I gotta say, there's not a lot of fat in this movie in terms of kind of just like pacing, and like once you're in it, you're in it. And I do think Ray Mendoza's direction, Alex Garland's direction, is very sharp. It's very top tier, and I do think that Mendoza has a lot to say. Kind of like he's very, he knows his again as he lived it, and one of the actors who plays him, it's like he's very clear of like what he wants to tell, of like what he went through, what him and his men went through in this. And I can't tell you enough because how I felt so. My hands were so sweaty in this movie. My palms were sweaty. I felt so just like at the edge of my seat. And there was two guys. Sorry, there were two people in the movie theater. Me and this other guy. And I was in the back. I was in the back row. He was in the front row. And he kept like turning back to me. And we were like, "Yo, this movie is wow." It got both of us. And I was in shock in a good way of like how they pulled this off, because the sound mixing, the sound design. It's really intense, and I haven't seen this well done in terms of like sound design, sound mixing, and sound production in a movie in a long time. And just the amplifying of it all, how you hear the shots, you hear the booms, you hear everything, you hear the tanks, you hear the steps. It's just like I was like, wow, this feels like you transported with these guys right now. And I just keep thinking like, wow, like how do they shoot this? How do they mix this? Because again, it really is a masterclass in terms of sound mixing, sound design, cinematography. Cinematography is remarkable, and you know you'll hear me a lot complain about cinematography here and there. I thought the cinematography in this was just out of this world, top tier. Like I said, it is a masterclass. I do think a lot of war movies, it becomes a little too, I think, glamorous. I don't want to say, but it's very like, okay, it's Hollywoodified, and this felt like you were with them in a documentary, and I was just like, wow, this the intensity of like certain shots, the focus on certain members, SEAL members, like the sweat, like what they're doing, they never let up, and I was like, whoa. So like I said, guys, if you want to see a masterclass in editing, sound mixing, sound design, and cinematography, this movie is for sure it. I gotta say, the entire cast across the board to me was remarkable. From Will Poulter, Joseph Quinn, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name already. Charles Melton, Joseph Quinn, Kit Connor. I mean, and then the actor who played actual Ray, I'm blanking on his name. I'll pull up here on IMDb. I just like everyone was casted very well, and you could tell they took this very seriously. And I think part of the behind the scenes was that like, DeFaro Wunati, I think he was in Reservation Dogs, and he plays Ray, and you definitely tell like he had a lot of, all these men had big shoes to fill, but really like he has to depict this guy he's being directed by, and also this is his like he's squadron, and like I said, it just how sharp this movie is, directed by both Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza. But the actors, you could tell, like, they want to do this movie and this story justice. They weren't here for like the glitz and glamour. Like, they wanted to tell the story. They had respect for what Ray went through and what these men went through. And I was really impressed with both Will Poulter and Joseph Quinn. I think these two guys, like, when I see them more stuff, I get more impressed with them as actors. And really, it's DeFaro, Will, and Joseph Quinn. Joe really just have. I mean, they're putting this movie on their backs, and they're really carrying this movie through and through. But again, everyone is casted to a T, like, really well. Again, I can tell that they had a lot of respect for these men who they're portraying. And you could tell too, like, Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza didn't want to have any bullshit. Like, no, again, I'm pretty sure Alex Garland is on record saying, like, we didn't want to have any glamour, no prima donnas. Like, no, we're telling the story because the story has to be told, and we are honoring what these men went through and what Ray went through. And I was like, I really appreciate the authenticity and the respect they had for this movie and this story. Yeah, so I never once was like, okay, sure, but I didn't believe this. No. They do not hold any punches, and it's raw. It is raw, and it is real. And like I said, I do think this really is the most authentic movie of war that has ever been depicted on film. And I think that I'll probably see ever in my lifetime. And it just stuck with me. There's certain things where the intensity, the scenes where some men who are injured, or you name it, and I kept saying that. I was like, oh my Lord, like, holy shit. And again, I appreciate they didn't, like, turn a blind eye or look away, but, like, no, they're showing you, like, what happened. They're showing you in your face a really traumatic but also real respectful depiction of what happened on film. And I just was really in shock by this, but again, in a really respectful way. So it's, I mean, I've been thinking about it, even weeks after I saw it, or days after I saw it, where I was like, this movie just was in my head, and I kept thinking about it. And like I said, when the movie ends, you just feel like a pit in your stomach. And again, my hands were just so sweaty because they do not let up once. And at the end, it shows the men who played who, and of course, of, like, Ray and everything. And it was just like, wow. I mean, what a tribute it was to certain people as well. And just, like, the aftermath of what these men went through and what the squad went through was just horrific. But, these men are heroes, and it's just their survival stories had to be shown. And I really, again, do appreciate that Ray Mendoza felt comfortable enough to kind of tell the story and honor his fellow squad mates and everything. So, like I say, guys, I'm giving this movie a really 9 out of 10. It's for sure gonna be my top 10 of the year. I just was, as I get more older, I definitely say that I definitely appreciate technical filming a lot more than I did as a kid. And you allow stuff practical. It's like, practically, it's like, wow, like, it's really just like sitting there like, this is a masterclass. And I will say Alex Garland has definitely gone off of my shit list after this, for sure. It's probably my favorite movie of his that he's directed or written that I've seen of his personally. I am looking forward to 28 Days Later. Also 28 years later. Well, I'm seeing 28 Days Later this week too for the first time. I'm also seeing 28 years later. I also want to watch Men in Annihilation, but I do hope that both these men get an Oscar nomination. Oscar nomination for just the technical achievements in this film, for sure. I've been thinking about it a lot in the past few weeks, where I'm just like, oh my God. And if you do appreciate war films, the war genre, definitely see this movie. Seen in the theater, I could not believe the sound of this movie. And you can see it in Dolby, you can see it in IMAX. I saw it at a regular theater, unfortunately, but if I could go back and see it in IMAX or Dolby, I would, just because the sound. The sound design is just out of this world. And like I said, I do appreciate all these technical achievements in film a lot more as I get older, and I definitely look out for more as we critique and review movies more on the podcast as well. But yeah, I was in shock. If you saw my reaction, I wasn't smiling. I was just like, what I just watched, like. And I'm like, when we ended, the guy that was in the theater with me, we talked about it, we were like, dude, what was that? We're like, yo, we were just like, oh my God. And him and I were both in shock, and we talked about it. So thanks to that one guy for being cool, talking to me after the movie too. Should put him the reaction after the movie, but no, he was really cool. But we were both just like in awe, and we were just like, wow. And It's a movie that I don't know if I'll watch so soon. I'll be honest. I'll definitely watch it again for sure. Maybe as we do our wrap up of the year, toward the end of the year for our top tens. But just what the experience I had watching this was very visceral, but also just very like shocking. And I think it's the power of cinema, it's the power of filmmaking, it's the power of television and storytelling. Whereas like if you can walk out of a theater or out of watching a show, feeling the way you in a certain reaction, that just shows how important storytelling is in film and TV. And I think both Ray and Alex did achieve that with this movie for me, but I think a lot of people too. And I don't think it did that well, unfortunately, in the box office, but man, they just really remarkable filmmaking at a top tier. I think A24, I think honestly this might be A24's best movie done in a long time. And I think I've had, I think myself, Moses and Nick have had kind of regards with A24 recently. I'm kind of just like, I'd say they haven't been slacking, but they haven't like hit like the same, they haven't hit the way they used to be back in like a couple years ago when they were kind of like still starting off. But I think this definitely probably be an A24 movie that I think that probably be my top 10, for sure my top 10, but also just one that I think I'll be in my top 10 of A24 in general of their history of being a studio. But like I said, they're probably the best movie in a long time. So yeah, guys, Warfare, 9 out of 10. Please, if you can't see it in theaters, see it in theaters, please. If not, watch it at home. But I just had a lot of respect to everyone involved in this movie, and again, it just really stuck with me in ways I can't really hard to explain, but I hope I did somewhat justice in this review episode. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this review roundup episode this week. Hope you all enjoy my reviews on these two very different movies, but again, hope you guys give me some insight as well to check out both in theaters at home. Like I said, this week we'll have a full episode of the podcast about our Mission Impossible review, Mission Impossible the Final Reckoning review, and we definitely gotta finish our summer movie season preview that we didn't finish yet. I think we did part 1 a few weeks ago. Then we did our spoiler review last few weeks ago. No, we did last few weeks. Not Sinners. Oh, we did a Thunderbolts review, a spoiler with me and Nick. So this week, me and the boys should be back all together, and we'll have a review again, like Mission Impossible review as well as including our summer movie preview season. So summer movie season preview. I kept doing that. Jeez. And then we'll probably do, I would say we'll definitely do a Mission Impossible franchise ranking either the week after, and then probably do a spoiler review of the Final Reckoning probably the week after too. We like to give you guys at least a week to give you all kind of heads up before we do a spoiler reaction or a conversation, that is. And I definitely want to rank these movies with the guys. And also want to do down the road, hopefully this summer, do a Marvel MCU film tier list. We haven't done tier lists in a long time. With 37 movies, I think 37 with Fantastic Four or 35 Fantastic Four. I could be wrong, but it'll probably be a 2 or 3 parter episode. But again, we have a lot of movies to cover for you guys this summer. Like I said, I kept saying that to you guys. But no, thank you all for tuning in this week. Hope you have a great week of May. Hope you're enjoying some great movies for the summer. Hope you're staying cool. If it's hot by you guys, definitely hot by us already. But until then, guys, we'll see you next time. And of course, we'll see you all at the movies.